everyone, welcome back to the kitchen. Today I have a super simple, delicious treat that everybody pretty much loves. We're gonna make our own version of Brownie Brittle, except this isn't gonna cost you an arm and a leg. It's really simple to make, and we're gonna start with your favorite brownie mix. I'm gonna give you some hints and tips to make this happen, and I can't wait to show you how this all comes together. Today we're going to make Brownie Brittle. Why not start easy? Because brownie mixes go on sale all the time at the grocery store. Today I'm using one that makes a 9x13 pan, so it's a family size brownie mix, because that's what I had in my pantry. We're going to look at what the box says the ingredients need to be, and we're going to do the oil and the water exactly like it says on the box. So for my brownie mix, which is a Duncan Hines fudge brownie mix, it says 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, 1/3 cup of water. The only thing different that we're going to do is it calls for 2 eggs. We're not going to use whole eggs, we're going to use egg whites only. So that is 1/4 cup of egg whites. And then we're going to top this off with some crushed pecans and some mini chocolate chips. And we're going to spread it in a baking sheet that is much larger than you would use, like a 9x13 baking pan. It has, it's deep and it's much shorter than this. It's actually half the size of this baking pan, which is approximately 12 by 18. This is a half sheet pan. I have lined it with the equivalent of a silpat. This is a copper chef mat, or if you have one of those non-stick grill mats, that works too. But I've also sprayed that with a little coconut oil spray. Preheated my oven to 375 degrees, and we're gonna mix this up and we're going to spread it very thin in that pan. And then we're gonna bake it. It's gonna take about 15 to 18 minutes. We've got this all mixed up. Your next best friend here, if you have one, I highly recommend an offset spatula. So we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna spread this out to all corners of our mat. So your offset spatula is really gonna help you get in there and get into all the corners and make it as even as possible. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give this a wrap on the counter, and that way it will kind of help it to self-level somewhat. Now, if you choose, you can go ahead and sprinkle this like I am. I have 1/4 cup each of mini semi-sweet chocolate chips, and I have 1/4 cup also of crushed pecans, and we're just gonna sprinkle those evenly across the top of the batter. I bet you guys already have this stuff in your house, in your pantry or what have you. If you don't like nuts on top, leave them out. If you don't like the chocolate chips on top, leave them out. No big deal. Also, you can add toffee chips here. You could add pieces of candy cane crushed here. You know what? Your imagination is what's going to limit you. Oven is preheated to 375 degrees. I'm going to pop this in the oven for approximately 15 to 18 minutes, and then I'll show you what this looks like when it comes out. My Brownie Brittle pan was in the oven for approximately 20 minutes. I let it go a couple extra minutes. So when it comes out, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you take a spatula or a butter knife or something and just go around the edge. I've already done that around the whole edge, and I just want to show you. This will actually cool, it will get crispy as it cools. So don't worry if it looks like it's not super crispy quite yet, because it will be. But you can see how nice and thin that is. And as this cools, it's gonna get nice and crispy. Go ahead and let this cool, and then I'll bring you back and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all crisped up and cooled. Well, there you have it. Our Brownie Brittle is finished. Now, I did want to mention a couple of things. Now, it's very crispy, as you can see. It's very thin, and it's very delicious, because I already made Rick taste it.
I had to.
Now, some pieces in the center or toward the outside, it just depends on how finicky your oven may be, and it also depends on how thick you spread it and how big your pan was. If you have to, you might consider spreading this between 2 separate pans in an ultra thin layer. That way you will have ultra thin, super crispy brownie batter, Brownie Brittle, all the way through. Now sometimes you're going to get pieces that are super fudgy, And that's okay, but you want to make sure that if that happens to you, the next time you try it, leave it in the oven for an extra 10 minutes and monitor it so it doesn't burn. Now, some of my pieces are a little thicker, they're on the bottom of the pie plate, and some of them are fudgy, and that's okay because there are people in the family who will eat those and we're not worried about it. And I don't know anybody who's going to turn down a piece of brownie, whether it's, you know, crispy or chewy. So, you know, you go with it. It's brownie, for heaven's sake. But that's how you can make brownie brittle at home. You just substitute the whole eggs for the egg whites. That's one of the tips. You can also add an additional egg white if you think you want it a little crispier. And then you can also divide your batter between 2 pans and spread it super thin. That way you're guaranteed super thin brownie brittle all the way through. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. I hope that you give this brownie brittle a try and I hope that you love it. If you do, leave me a comment down below. And until next time, I'll see ya!